Good morning. We had completed up to verse 63 from chapter 2 of the Bhagavad Gita. These were some of the very important verses, and I will just recap that these two verses because it's very essential for us. So let us see what these verses say. The man dwelling on sense objects develops attachment to them. From attachment springs up desire, and from desire ensues anger. Now verse 63, from anger arises delusions, from delusions confusion of memory, from confusion of memory loss of reason, and from loss of reason one goes to complete ruin. So this is a very important verse because anger has its roots in what is called as desires. Now desires also have its roots on what is called as attachment to them, to the different objects that are around us. So let us say if we are attached to somebody very close to us, this attachment creates a lot of problems in us. So if I am attached to my child, then this particular attachment creates problems in the way that when I have a problem with the child, so it says the sense object. Remember the sense objects and the object outside are three separate things. The sense is vision, the sense object is the eyes, and the object outside is the person or thing or place. Whatever. These three things you should always remember. People, places and things. Attachment to any object outside of your own being can create problems in people. So, man dwelling on sense object develops attachment for them. So what happens? I was just seeing a small glimpse of a movie called Beta. This is a Hindi movie. Now, this particular Beta, the Beta means a son, he has a tremendous attachment to his mother. And when something happens to her, he gets very upset and angry. So it is an object of desire. Desire need not be what is called as lusty desire. It can be any kind of a desire. It can be a desire that I want to own a car. I want to live in some place. Now you may say that I want to live in London, New York, some such kind of a place. It's an attachment to that place. So when you have a problem of attachment, that you are so much attached to that thing, people, places, I said, then it so happens that when this object doesn't conform to your wishes, if that object doesn't conform to your wishes, then the problem arises. So, from attachment springs up desire. So, the desire to own this object. I want to go here, I want to do this, I want to eat that, I want my mother, I want my father, or whatever it is. So, these are the desires. And when these desires come, then unfulfillment happens. Even in marriage, I think that day I gave you all example of marriage and autistic children. Now marriage also is such a thing that people feel that they are in love in marriage. Very soon, just in a few months' time or a year's time, things start deteriorating very fast. And this desire that that person should behave in such a manner, or expectation that there is, I want him like this, I want her to be like this, and pushing their own desires onto that person, that you should be this or you should be that, you should be doing this. This kind of desires, when they are unfulfilled, these unfulfilled desires causes a massive rift. So this unfulfilled desire ensues anger. So when the mother and the child, I told you about this mother and son. Now the son doesn't conform to his mother's wishes. What happens? She gets very angry and upset. And when she gets very angry and upset, this is a very common phenomena in India especially, where mothers literally force their children to get married to someone and live in that way that they are supposed to. So this creates problems. So there is unfulfilled desire. Unfulfilled desire ensues anger. Now when a person gets angry, then from anger comes delusion. Maya comes very, very strongly. Maya literally pounces on that person. So how does it happen? So in case of this, say mother and son or whatever, Maya creeps in. Oh, now let us say the son goes and marries some girl from outside. All right, not from her community, not from his community, or something like that. Or maybe he has fallen in love with some girl. So the mother starts feeling, oh, how is it that this particular person is taking over my son's life? This is a problem which happens. It's called delusion. Mind literally deludes you every moment in time. When the mind deludes you, because mind is the essential problem over here. I told you in the beginning that mind is Indradev because of the senses, which is called Indriyas. Through the Indriyas, all the problems start. The mind starts reacting to these situations. Suppose, let us say the person wants to live in certain city and that person doesn't get the chance to stay, and the person gets very angry. How is it that this person got to stay, that person got to stay, and I am not able to? It's a very common phenomenon. Or somebody that you love, that person may go and marry somebody else, then there is a problem there. It happens. So all these people, places and things. So when this happens, delusion sets in. Anger comes in. When anger comes, delusion sets in. And then there is confusion of memory. The confusion of memory is a very, very funny thing. It so happens that all the good stuff goes out of the window. Only the bad stuff remains. How does the bad stuff remain? Whatever that little thing that is there, which might have not gelled in their world, that comes to the forefront. And the person gets very attached to that kind of a thing. Oh, this person did not behave in the way I wanted. I wanted like this, and then they never did it. Well, after this happens, then confusion of memory. You lose your memory. You don't remember anything which is good in life. Then all the bad stuff is there. Now this person behaved like this, he is not good, he is bad, she is bad, this. The entire story comes out this way. Even cities and things. Now how are cities? Till that time the person is living in the city is well and good. Yes, place. Or the house which they are staying in. That is a very good thing. But the moment there is a problem in that place, I don't like this place. This is a horrible place. People are bad. This has happened. Right? Same thing with things. A car which might have been, giving you very good service for many years suddenly starts misbehaving. Maybe it's old. Maybe something has happened to it. Then the same object becomes a problem. The wedding ring. The wedding ring that is there. When you are on the verge of getting a divorce, or when you are having a very bad, fight with this person, then you would like to throw the same wedding ring out of the window. Maybe you just want to pawn it. Maybe you just don't want to own it also. This is so common. I don't want this. I hate this person from the bottom of the heart. Spirituality teaches you not to get into all these things. And then from reason one goes to complete ruin. I had to repeat the whole verse again because these are very important verses. I told you to write them down in front of you. Otherwise, you will never understand how anger comes in. And anger is the cause of complete ruin. Anger comes at the time of death when you are angry with someone or something has happened. That anger will cause you misery because you are going to meet this same person in all your future lives, as many as they are, and not necessarily in the order that they are supposed to be. There's a very beautiful story of Sai Baba where Sai Baba says these two people are very angry with each other and they are fighting with each other. The one becomes a snake and one becomes a toad. And you know what happens. The snake wants to eat the toad. So it happens like that. So you can't say the anger can cause misery in the future as well. And it's always reverse, payback. Alright, so we will start the verse 64 now. We are doing Bhagavad Gita chapter 2 verse 64. But the self-controlled sadhaka, while enjoying the various sense objects through his senses, which are disciplined and free from likes and dislikes, attains placidity of mind. Now here he is talking about somebody who is on the path of spiritual, somebody who is very spiritual in nature. This particular person who is very spiritual in nature, now this is not a part-time spirituality, it's a full-time thing. You are supposed to be 100% in spiritual. So that person is called sadhaka. Sadhak, disciple, whatever you may call him, this sadhaka enjoys various sense objects. Now, this sadhaka may be eating an ice cream, okay? He might be a married person, doesn't matter. He may be having children. He may own a house. He may buy a car. So he is enjoying sense objects through his senses. All his senses are reacting simultaneously. And he is enjoying those objects which are disciplined, the senses which are disciplined and free from likes and dislikes, attains placidity of mind. When the senses are disciplined, I'll have to go back maybe 2-3 days, and where I had given you an understanding of what this kind of a soul is. When the object which is there outside hits the eye of the person enjoys the object, but he doesn't possess it. Did you get this? He enjoys the object means he is taking part in whatever that is needed, but doesn't actually enjoy it. So, he may be watching a movie. The movie is going on in front. The person is just watching the movie for the sake of watching, but is not interested in trying to do some analysis of it, or saying that, oh, this person is acting like this, that person is acting like that, this fellow killed him. You know, the people get carried away by these kind of things. Alright? In my life, I have my mother. She was very much interested in, when the villain was following the heroine, she wanted to bash him up, she wanted to kill him, she wanted to murder him. Why? Because she used to look at the television and say, look at that fellow, he's following you. Be careful, don't get trapped into all these things. See, this is what happens to a normal human being. Normal human beings get caught up in this web of likes and dislikes. I don't like this, I hate this thing. You know, this is what I like. This is so beautiful. This is so nice. This is so beautiful. What is this beauty and not beauty? Somebody was asking me, which is your favorite city? So I was just talking something and they said, Paris. Is Paris a very important city for you? I said, yeah. You see, in Mumbai where I stayed, there was a television tower. Okay? It was exactly like the Eiffel Tower. It doesn't make sense to me. You go and see one metal structure over there and enjoy that metal structure, it's not a great thing. Yes, there is a metal structure. There is a particular, Arc de Triomphe, they call it, which is basically, in India, we have India Gate. What is the big deal in that? You go to a city, you enjoy some things. That day also I was giving you the same example. Or, what is it that you may like? So immediately the person said, oh, your favorite book is Larousse Gastronomy. Okay. Cordon Bleu, you want to go there for that sake? No. I would rather read about it. I would rather see what is there in that book. It is just for knowledge purpose. I am not interested in eating those dishes or enjoying that scene over there or doing something like that. It is there in literally all the cities of this world. Even if you go to Bangalore, it's the same thing. What is there to enjoy? Where you are, that place is very important to enjoy. So Don't get carried away by likes and dislikes. I like this, I don't like this. So those who are true sadhakas, they do not have any likes or dislikes. They do not actually start giving out answers that I like this, I don't like this is so beautiful, that is least bothered, because that is what you got to be. Bhagavad Gita is all about having placidity of mind and not getting carried away by things. So he says, Shri Krishna says over here, self-controlled sadhaka. The person should be self-controlled while enjoying the various sense objects through his senses, which are disciplined. The senses need to be disciplined. You cannot say that I want to, eat this too much. Or just because I am getting it, I don't need to eat it. I can just enjoy a little bit of it. Why? Because it can just, just the taste will linger on your tongue for millionth of a second, and after that it is gone and it becomes poop. I mean, think about it. Everything that you eat and drink, whatever that you do, finally it is only the tongue which has the taste. After that, what happens to that object? Nothing. It is exactly that. And then what happens? He says that once the senses are disciplined, free from likes and dislikes, attains placidity of mind. So you need to have placidity of mind, not get upset or angry when things don't fall in your favor. Anger is the root cause of all evil. The moment you get angry, upset, or somebody says something or somebody does something to you and you are getting upset because of that, you are going to go to hell. Please understand this. There is a one clear verse where Krishna says, anger is the doorway to hell. This is in the Bhagavad Gita, so don't forget this verse. So you understand? You cannot have likes and dislikes. We have done an entire 4 days of satsang where it was mentioned you got to have equanimity of mind, equipoise of the mind. Same thing is getting repeated but slightly in a different format. So now we'll move to the next verse. We are doing Bhagavad Gita chapter 2 verse 65. With the attainment of such placidity of mind, all his sorrows come to an end, and the intellect of such a person of tranquil mind soon withdraws itself from all sides, becomes firmly established in God. Well, we are talking about a sadhaka. Now the sadhaka, when he is not attached to any object, he has no likes or dislikes, he is just living a life without having disruptions like I like this, I like that. He has equanimity of mind. When a person has equanimity of mind, then when he has the placidity of the mind, when the mind is placid, you see, placidity of the mind is never observed in people who are in the material realm. The Democrats are against the Republicans are against the Democrats. Those who are supporting them, they are also against each other. The religious people are against each other. Every religion, everybody is against each other. You see the whole point of it? Okay. The North Indians, South Indians, the South and the North divide even in the United States. Of course, you'll find the Europeans and the Africans down there. Of course, that problem is there. There are likes and dislikes. I don't like this. I hate that. This is like this. I like this person because he is like this or something like that. But you have to attain the placidity of mind. And when you have the placidity of mind, all the sorrows come to an end. There are no sorrows in the mind of anybody then. See, what happens is, when you have placidity, satisfaction comes to you. You see, when a person has, actually yesterday I was sitting with some farmers and they were earning a very minuscule amount of money. They get maybe about a couple of, say, kilos of grains or quintals of grains. Earlier on, they would be very happy and satisfied with what happened to them. But today what has happened is, this person has to go out and work. So I went out with this person to see what he does. he showed me around and he said, I have planted these 250 coconut trees. I asked him, why has he done that? So he told me that, my future generation is not interested in what I am doing. The girls have got married. The son is in his own trip. He wants to become a businessman. He's not interested in any of these things. I am an old man. I have to take care of myself. In my future years, these 250 trees, I don't have to actually tend to them. So I am not going out in the field to tend to these trees. They get water on their own. The coconut agents that are there, contractors, they will come and remove the coconuts and they will give me a certain amount of money. So it is like an automatic income. People want automatic income. Why? Because the next generation is least bothered about taking care of these kind of things. So nobody wants to be there as a farmer. To find few people to do farming is the most difficult thing in the world today. Forget about farming, whether it's a plumber, whether it is something else also. So when I talked to him, I understood that he has his own issues. Now these issues have come because of his ownership. When you take ownership of something, you are going to be miserable. First is the ownership of his farmland. Second is the ownership of his children. Remember that. Okay? Ownership of his farmland, if he lets the farm go fallow, nobody is going to work in it. It's going to go to waste. He doesn't even want to sell it. So owning the farmland is problematic. Then having children who are going to be like this. The son wants to become a businessman. The daughters have got married and gone away. They are least bothered about the father or the mother. But whenever they have to come to their mother's place, they will make a big list of things. I want this, I want this, I want this, and I want this. So the farmer has to go out and work as well. So he earns about 500 to few hundred rupees per day. He has taken huge loans to get his daughters married off. You see, the son's education was also a very big problematic thing for him because he had to take loan for his son's education. He wants to become a businessman. Remember that. He wants to be a person who is in some management school. He wants to do post-graduation now. So his father has to take money from outside. For two daughters' marriage, he has taken a huge amount of money. Now, where is he going to pay that money? So he drives a truck. He works from morning 4 o'clock in the morning till about 10 in the night. Just because of the possession he has called children. See, two daughters, one son. I own them. So I have to take care of them. So that's the reason why I am like this. I own the land. So I have to take care of the land. I own the house. So I have to take care of the house. Who is going to pay for the electricity bills? Who is going to pay for the food? This is where the problem lies. So what Shri Krishna is saying over here, any kind of attachment that you have, any kind of possession that you have, that object is going to create problems in the person's life. So attainment of such placidity comes, all his sorrows come to an end, and the intellect of such a person of tranquil mind soon withdraws itself from all sides. So once you don't have these attachments, once you don't have these desires, then what happens? You attain placidity of mind, and with the placidity of mind, you are not going to be disturbed with anything that is around happening to you. People forget something very, very importantly. Not a single day of their life they can run their life, not a single day they can run on their own. Everything happens by the will of God. These people think, I am doing it, I am doing it, I am doing it, and keep on blaming people for their problems. They are blaming everybody else, because he is like this, because she is like that, this happens. People forget that everything is done by the divine Lord himself. So when you want to have oneness with God, have this placidity of mind, and all the sorrows come to an end, the intellect becomes a divine intellect. That day I explained to you, What is a normal intellect? Normal intellect is the crass intellect that we have, which is in spirituality, it is called ignorance. You study in school, you study in college, you have big degrees, you have a lot of knowledge of this material world. All the knowledge is external, that is connected to the body. It has nothing to do with internal knowledge, which is called the spiritual knowledge. Spiritual knowledge is about the self. The self is the divine self, that is the Lord himself. So this knowledge is called the true knowledge, whereas all other knowledge that is there in the material world, it is going to go to naught. I was explaining to you that day also, and let us look at it from this point of view. A person can become an engineer, can become a doctor, can become whatever they want to in their life. When they become that, they join some company, maybe an IT company. Do they even bother about the geographies and the histories and the biologies of their life? No. Do they even bother about in the engineering degree that they had, they have learned something? No. Nothing. This knowledge is useless. That day I explained to you all also that all the top people in the world, whether it is Bill Gates or Mark Zuckerberg or whoever, all the guys, big fellows, Dhirubhai Ambanis of this world, they are not educated. They have practical knowledge. But what is the use of that knowledge when you are going through a divorce and you have to pay $70 billion to your wife? I mean, just think about it. So what are you going to do? You are going to make more 70 billion then? This is called possession, and that is called misery after that. And that is why a person who is on the path of spiritual should never fall into this kind of a trap. So you can only get established in the divine provided you have placidity of mind. And when you have placidity, all the sorrows come to an end, and the intellect becomes a true intellect, not the material worldly intellect. Material worldly intellect is as good as trash. So basically that knowledge has no value after some time. There is absolutely no value. And soon withdrawing itself from all sides. So this particular person becomes completely withdrawn from all sides. He is not interested in anything. Like this farmer, if he becomes a spiritual person, then he is not going to be doing anything about if he gets money or he doesn't get money. He will be satisfied with whatever farming he does. Do you get it? He is not going to be disturbed by all these things happening around him. So he will just be doing what is supposed to be done. That's it. So we will go to the next verse. We have little time there. So we are doing chapter 2, verse 66. He who has not controlled his mind and senses can have no determinate intellect, nor contemplation. Without contemplation, he can have no peace. And how can there be happiness for one lacking such peace of mind? So a very important verse. He who has not controlled his mind, some person who has never controlled the mind. Controlling of the mind is very critical for everybody to become peaceful and calm. Remember, I hope you remember the verse where Shri Krishna says, it is the mind which has to be decimated. Then it is called yoga. Yoga is not physical activity. Yoga is when you have decimated your mind. Control of your mind, decimation of your mind is the only yoga which Krishna is talking about. He is not talking about any physical activity or anything like that. So here Sri Krishna is very clearly saying that when you have placidity of mind, when you have completely sorted out your mind, then you are on the way to God. But there are some people in this world whose minds are not controlled. They see an object, and the moment they see an object, they feel very upset and angry. Now let us say you are going for a party and you meet somebody who you have some animosity with. Immediately the person feels, I don't want to see this person. This person is not good. You have this kind of a feeling coming up and your mind starts throwing all kinds of nonsense. What is the nonsense? Oh, this is the person who has taken up my opportunities. See, in offices, this happens, isn't it? So the person says, oh, this person, he's doing a lot of stuff with the bosses, why? That is the reason why he is growing in his life. That's what happens. So immediately you start correlating two things, and your mind is a cauldron. It's like literally throwing out so many things. Actually, they are all unreal. But your mind is full of nonsense. You keep on thinking. It is Maya's playground. Please remember this. And in the Maya's playground, an idiot is always going to be lost in the mind. So Krishna says, those who have not controlled their mind and senses can have no determinate intellect. The intellect is not even going to be with them. They are all going to be biased. Biased to what extent? That somebody is doing something to them, this is not good, that is not good, and mind keeps on giving all kinds of stories. And when that happens, person is not able to contemplate. You see, when you do the contemplation, when you think about the answers, you can get answers. But when you do not have this kind of a peace in mind, then what happens? Your contemplation never happens. You're not able to find answers. The problems become bigger and bigger and bigger, and your mind keeps on throwing a lot of stuff, especially in today's day and age. People think everybody seems to have all kinds of diseases. Many years ago, you think Sri Krishna's time those diseases were there? I don't think so. Even stuff like, oh, I'm not able to remember things, I have this ADHD, ABCD, I don't know what are things that they keep on coming up with. Everybody was forgetful, everybody had problems. It is one person created a new subject, and that subject has become very much predominant, and everybody wants to support that subject. So yes, even a common man seems to have that problem. Why? Because now the problem has identified itself, and yes, we all have it. And this is so common. I don't think people said they had stress and they had tensions many years ago, because the word itself never existed. Say 40, 50 years ago, people never had stress or tensions. They had problems in their life and they were supposed to solve them. Arjuna today, you see, if I tell a psychologist and I tell him, can you please analyze Arjuna and tell me what is wrong with him? You see, the funniest part of it all is, whoever this great psychologist is, you should never reveal this person is Arjuna, but tell him this is the problem he is facing. He doesn't want to go to the battlefield. He's afraid that he's going to kill somebody. He doesn't like this. He doesn't like that. He says, I'm not going to do this. Do you know all the psychological problems that you can think of? This doctor, whoever he might be, a PhD in that subject, is going to say, this person suffers from all these problems. Isn't it very funny? So Arjuna was suffering from problems. Oh, they will not even leave Krishna. They will think Krishna is like this. Krishna has so many problems. They look at his wives. They look at all the other things associated with him. Oh, he is a detached person. He is dispassionate. That means he has no heart. He doesn't have this. It's very common to have that kind of an understanding. So they will not even leave God. Jesus Christ also the same thing. Think about it. This is how the world is. So the reason why a person should not get into it, and those who get into it have a problem. And that is what Krishna is now telling us, that without contemplation, there is no contemplation going to be there. He can have no peace. And how can there be happiness if one is lacking peace of mind? There can never be peace if somebody is not having this in their mind. If their mind is going hither and thither and trying to do all kinds of things, then they are going to suffer very badly. So, the peace of mind. So, we will do one thing. We will be continuing this verse along with the other verses, because this verse is very, very important. Next time, tomorrow. So, I will stop over here.